The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, Mr. Deputy Speaker, let me take this time to thank the member for Hiri Koeri for asking a series of important questions. I wish he has my number. I wish he had sent me earlier the 7 questions in writing so I could do justice to the worthiness of that question. But nonetheless, when he's possibly here, he could understand the magnitude of trying to respond on your feet to a series of important questions like this. I advise all members of Parliament to get a good response. It is advisable you sometimes utilize the provision of a standing order to put questions on notice. So befitting response could be rendered to respond to such an important question. Nonetheless, 7 questions were asked. I try to do summary succinctly as much as possible without averting the core issues. First and foremost, Mr. Speaker, in respect to the treaty and the ratification process, by the way, to all children from Guinea who are here, Dabai Namona, I'm so happy to see all of you here. Guinea is a village that is closer to my heart, and I look forward to visiting you sometimes into the future. I first visited Guinea village in 1989 or 1990. I have a family friend there, and I want to say thank you to the kids, headmistress, headmaster, and the teachers for bringing children into our precinct. Your members ask a very important question. Our Constitution, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Section 206 of our Constitution, and lawyers amongst us, including the member himself, can have the leisure of reading Section 206 of our Constitution. Section 2 of our Constitution was the basis in which the 1975 Visiting Forces Act was launched by our founding fathers of our country. Under that Visiting Forces Act, incongruent with the Defense Act, many foreign forces have partnered PNG Defense Force since 1975, period. The construct of this treaty is not outside of the ambit of our national constitution, totally within the provision of our national constitution. Within Section 206 and the Visiting Forces Act, this treaty was constructed. Mr. Deputy Speaker. In as far as our own relations with Australia is concerned, the 3 battalions we have, the Moyam Battalion, the Taroma Battalion, the Igam Battalion, as well as the headquarters at Mari Barracks and the training depot or training facility at Taroma, was part of the Australian government set up prior to 1975. At 16 September 1975, they became Papua New Guineans. Connotes a shared history with Australia. Like we have defense relations with all bilateral nations, our country have utilized the provision of Section 206 to allow for visiting forces to land in our source and partner our defense force. In Australia, we had 1977 Status of Force Agreement under the then Somali government. Some 47 years later, in 2013, I beg your pardon, 37 years later if I'm not wrong. I'm not as smart as some of you, and my mathematics do rust. In 2013, the then government, under Prime Minister O'Neill, signed the Defence Cooperation Agreement, an elevation from Status of Force Agreement to a Defence Cooperation Agreement, connoting again that they were the frontiers. When you have Defence Cooperation Agreement, it's elevated from Status of Force Agreement. And so in 2013, we arrived at that juncture in our 2 military relationship. And in 2025, at request by PNG government and not request by Australia government, put it down in writing. And I'm willing to go down on this. As Prime Minister, my number one job is, first and foremost, I'm the number one security officer of this country. Act from external threat and internal threats. And so, as the Chief Security Officer of this country, we invited a force that we can read, we can speak, we have shared moral values with, to be part of our construct, elevating from a defense cooperation agreement to now a treaty-level relationship. By one stroke of a pen, we've elevated PNG Defence Force capacity to the Australian force capacity. Mr. Deputy Speaker, my job at night, I'm not just localized worrying what territory will be. I worry about the 800 kilometers of land border we have. I worry about the 50+ kilometers of river border we have. And all in all, the 3 million square kilometers of water we have in our country. Not to mention the airspace. In the future, war is going to be fought at airspace. If future war does take place. And I asked this question, I put the same question to all of us. What is it there for PNG Defence Force to contribute to Australia? In the event that there is an engagement today, tomorrow, under the treaty alliance. Except possibly our geography. Capacity-wise, we have nil, or if not little, to provide to Australia in this treaty. We requested to the Australian government at the present state of our defence force. And you have every right, Mr. Speaker, the members have every right to ask me. PNG government should be investing funds in it. I beg you, if we are to invest funds, all of you forgo your DSIP and everything else, and let's invest $1 billion kina each every year to capacitate our PNG Defence Force to stand up. Our nation is not a small nation. Our nation is not like a small island nation tucked away in the middle of the Pacific or ocean elsewhere. We've got 3 million square kilometers of ocean to defend, over 10 million people to protect, over 462,840 square kilometers of land to defend. That's big. That's big. Systematically, and our defense plan is such where systematically the next 10 years, we must build a defense force to men on strength, 7,000. Reserve men, 3,000. And by this signing, hopefully within the next 10 years, we got 10,000 Papua New Guinean bloods who live in Australia and live in PNG, fly down, work, and become citizens in Australia to be serving as Australian Defence Force personnel, reporting to the Australian Defence Commander. But at call, in times of stress, at major call, they could be redeployed back in PNG. But sustenance, salary, capacity, operation, including flying planes, handling ship, technology, drone, whilst Australia may not be at the superpower capacity, don't ignore the fact that they have mid-sized capacity defence force. So it is in this context to capacitate our defence force to defend our sovereignty at the earliest so that we work domestically the next 10 years. I want to give assurance to this Parliament. This does not compromise our sovereignty one bit. The treaty was made public. As soon as we signed in Canberra, it was posted for the whole world to see, including all our bilateral partners. To date, no bilateral partner has an issue with this one. Every mature nation knows totally that nation and nation enter into partner. It is within the call of its nation to enter into partner. With other partner nations, they feel compatible. They feel they're in alignment.
Prime Minister, we have a point of order. Member for Chuabe.
Mr. Speaker, the good Prime Minister has quoted Section 206 of the Constitution, which clearly states that no member of the Defence Force shall serve in another nation, except where the NEC or the head of state gives the okay. This, to me, reeks executive overreach. The good question by the member for Hiri Koeri was, why wasn't this brought into Parliament? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the process is on foot. This Parliament would have the privilege of the process of ratification. Every treaty is eventually brought into the Parliament. And I am reminded that it's Section 117. I may be wrong. Please don't quote me. You just quote me on a constitution. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, so I can run the risk of being quoted incorrectly here. But based on advice, every decision we take, government of the day, ministers don't do work on their own. We propose, and our state instrumentalities check the proposal. When every law is ticked off, then most important man, state solicitor of the land, ticks off that this proposal is congruent, is in order. Let's go down the path and get upon. I want to assure this country, this House, and a good member for Hiri Koeri, we are cognizant to our national duties to be compliant to our national constitution. Our constitution allows for this path to be taken, all done in the interest of capacitating our defense force at the earliest in our own national plan within the next 10 years. 7,000 men on strength in PNG Defense Force, our PNG Defense Force own working condition, including police and CIS, will be relooked at, so they stepped up to match Papua New Guineans who are selected through an independent process to go and work in Australian Defense Force. By the time this is fully matured, you would have 17,000 Papua New Guineans who are working either in Australia, reporting to Australian Defense Force Commander, or 7,000 of them reporting to PNG Defense Force Commander. Among some of the negative decisions we took sometimes back 23 years ago, we eroded the value of our defense force to almost nothing. We eroded the value of our defense force to almost 19 in 2001, 2002. Well, this is different, to capacitate our PNG Defense Force, to stand as symbol of our sovereignty. And I want to throw in a caveat. Next year, as we work through, we will demilitarize, we'll establish Bougainville as a demilitarized zone where Defense Force will not enter, but the construct of PNG Defense Force is to make sure we secure the land, water, territory of our country. And the rub-on effect, a ripple-on effect, is a positive ripple-on effect to police, CIS, and the entire ambience of the law and justice sector infrastructure in our country. I want to ask this House if the Speaker could give me the indulgence of picking up the copy of the question, and in a response through print media, we could make a fullest response, so every member of Parliament and the country is satisfied to the answer of this question. But also, when the ratification is brought to this House, it will place a notice. Each of you will have a thorough read-through the entire treaty document. There's a provision. I think the member did ask on the non-alliance standing we have. From time to time within the ambit of non-alliance, our defense must engage with other defense forces to work with. This doesn't compromise the non-alliance. Right in the heart of this treaty is a provision that says, at the point of critical decision-making of military engagements, the two defense commanders will make the call. The two defense commanders will make the call. And this treaty is subject to review on an annual basis. Our PNG Defense and Australian Defense Force forums will carry on to govern the framework to make sure that the intention of this treaty doesn't suppress our two nations' sovereignty, but protect our two sovereignty as we work side by side, step by step, a step into the future. Something you can never ignore is geography and close proximity. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we are here stuck with each other forever. We have to make do with what we have, and we choose, this side choose to work with Australia to prop up our defense, work side by side, strengthen, to protect our shared space in Pacific and on the face of the planet. Thank you.
Honourable member, our question time have already been lapsed. I'll take your point of order.
So, Mr. Speaker, I thank the good Prime Minister for attempt to answer these questions. One particular important one, leading on from his last response, Mr. Speaker, is in relation to the sovereignty of Papua New Guinea as a state. In the agreement itself, there is a provision that compels Papua New Guinea, in the event of its intentions to engage with another, let's say China, then the Papua New Guinea is compelled to consult Australia by this treaty. The good Prime Minister agreed that this is watering down our independence as a nation to engage freely with all other global parties in the world in the interest of trade, in the interest of security, and in the interest of foreign policy. This actually does water down our universal policy on friend to all, enemy to none.
Honourable Member, your point of order is like you're asking a new question. I'll take from the Prime Minister, who have requested through the chair to ask you to put your questions in writing to him. So I will also ask you to include that in your question writing to the Prime Minister, and Prime Minister can reply in a later time.